Let's talk about Israel, Gaza. President Biden is preparing to go to Israel on tomorrow. We saw today hospital was bombed. Anywhere from 300 to 500 people have been killed. The Palestinians are blaming the Israelis. Israelis are saying that it wasn't them. A lot of confusion there. You were there. How recent were you there?
I was there when the bombings occurred. I got there Monday of that week to see Cameron, my son Cameron, perform at Bruno Mars. I was there from Monday through Saturday afternoon.
Wow. Give us a sense of what that was like, being in the midst of all of that.
Well, let me set the context. At Bruno Mars' concert on Wednesday night, Roland, there were 60,000 people. Did you hear me? 60,000 people in the audience in Tel Aviv. And it wasn't just Israelis, it was Palestinians as well. And there were probably, I'm just guessing, that there were probably some young Hamas members at the Bruno Mars concert, with music being the universal language. So that's the context for my experience. That was Wednesday night. We toured the Holy Land. You just showed some of the pictures. We toured the Holy Land Thursday and Friday. Got up early Saturday morning to prepare to go to the airport. And the sirens started blaring about 6:45, 7 a.m. Tel Aviv time. And that's where it started. I can answer some more questions. Let me tell you, man, our driver, as he was taking me to the airport, showed me on his iPhone a FaceTime video, just like you and I are doing right now. His wife was FaceTiming him, and I literally I heard her screaming, and I saw a white pickup truck pull up in front of their home. About 8 masked gunmen jumped out of the back of the pickup truck in front of my driver's home and pulled out their AR-15 type rifles and just started firing in a circular motion around the community in front of this man's house. That's where I was when everything started.
It has been contentious. It has been just horrible to see the images, the dead bodies. We can on and on and on. But you also have this dichotomy happening. Yesterday, we were down in Fredericksburg, Virginia, for a panel. There were Israelis protesting in front. There were Jewish Americans protesting in front of the White House, calling on the White House to demand a ceasefire. You have the State Department issuing language saying to the diplomats, don't use that type of language. You've got, on college campuses, you've got donors who are saying they're going to be pulling their money from Harvard and Penn, from Columbia and other places because the presidents were not condemning students who were blaming Israel and not Hamas. I mean, you have people who, Alicia Keys posted a photo and somebody asked her, what's the one thing that you would like to do that you were scared of? She said paragliding, and people like Megyn Kelly and others like, oh, look at her dressed in the Hamas colors, and we see what she's saying. She had to delete the post, and she said, I was asked the question, had nothing to do with this, because that's how some of the Hamas folks attack Israelis. I mean, and so you literally have people who are saying, I can't win for losing, so I'm just not going to say anything.
Well, I'm not a geopolitician, so there's some things I can't opine on, but I am a theologian, which is what all of us are when we think about God. And I'm telling you, Roland, the same hatred that existed between Esau and Jacob, listen to me, it's the same hatred that still exists on the same soil that it existed between Esau and Jacob. And until we address that, until we do what I did, what Cameron and I did when we were in the Holy Land, right in the midst of the conflict, I fell on my face, man. I submitted myself to the presence and power of God in that atmosphere. And as we teach that, when more people do that, then we'll see the situation tamped down. But man, until we do deal with it, hatred is going to continue to move forward.
Yeah, and what I keep saying to people is death is death. And you have Israelis dying, you have Palestinians dying. Death is death. And so people say, well, you can't, it's like Israel has a right to retaliate. The folks, the Palestinians, Hamas, they're sitting here, they're tired of the oppression. Again, dying is happening on both sides. And guess what? Neither side is at peace.
And absolutely right. And dying is happening in our streets. And this is, Roland, this is what dawned on me as I was hunkering down in a shelter in the Tel Aviv airport while the sirens were blasting. I saw, when I heard a radio report that a representative of Hamas said these attacks are in retaliation for the way we have been treated for centuries. And for some reason, Roland, my mind went to the streets of Memphis, where we've got 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds carjacking people and shooting and killing people. And it is the same sense of hopelessness and despair. Just like Hamas, they feel like they're not being heard. What we have to do, particularly those of us who have boots on the ground, as I heard you say earlier, those of us who are in the Christian community, we have to reach out to our young people, pay attention to them, and help them to move beyond the anger, which is justified, into a position of, I know that I am loved, because it's the same hatred, Roland. It's the same bullets, and it's the same death.
Somebody, I was having a conversation the other day, and I was asked this question. And the question was, and it was an interesting conversation because there were Jewish folks, there were Arab folks, there were African American, there was white, and so it was a very eclectic group there. And they said, "How can we get this to stop?" And the hostages came up, And the first thing I thought about, I said, I hate the fact that a Reverend Jackson has been so hit with Parkinson's disease. I thought about the hostages that he was able to negotiate and get freed all around the world. And part of the problem that we're facing right now, you literally do not have a world leader or somebody with the type of moral standing who, when they speak, can get multiple sides to listen.
Well, you and Sheila, my wife Sheila, and I have talked about this before. The absence of someone with the moral rectitude and the ability to speak for many. But Roland, I believe that it is the Black church that has reneged on its responsibility. I'm included. That is reneged on our responsibility. I believe that as the Black pastor goes, so go Black people. And if individual Black pastors will begin to just stand up in truth, begin to fall down in worship, begin to speak the truth, begin to come away from this deal of letting politicians come into your pulpit, all this kind of thing, I believe we can be a united voice that speaks the way Dr. King spoke, the way Reverend Jackson spoke at one time. I think that's possible, Roland, and I know you do too.
Well, what we're faced right now is a continuation of the deaths. Again, folks, the blame is going around right now. Who's responsible for this tragedy at this particular church? I'm looking at the front page of the New York Times right now. Go to my iPad. Israelis and Palestinians blame each other for blasts at Gaza hospital that kill hundreds. Here's the reality. Hundreds are dead while they're blaming.
No doubt. No doubt.
Pastor Whalum, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, brother.
Love you, Roland.
Thanks a bunch. Thanks a bunch. Tell the wife and the fam what's up. Real quick to my panel here. Randy, I'll start with you. I mean, this is one of the things that's happening right now, Randy, and corporations are on edge, universities. You got Slack chats that are going crazy because people are drawing lines. You've got billionaires like Bill Ackman that are saying, "Oh, any student who signed on to any of these statements on the college campuses, do not hire them for jobs." A law firm rescinding job offers to some of these students. I mean, it's stunning to watch. Literally, while that battle is going on in, I'll call it North Africa, other people call it Middle East, while that's happening, then, of course, you have the battles that are happening literally in the streets of the United States, protests and rallies, and what's happening in corporations as well. How does a corporate leader navigate this?
It's a really good question. I have been watching. I've been getting lists of corporations that people should ban or protest on either side. um, depending on how you feel. They say, oh, this product, don't go to Starbucks because they are feeding money in to Israel. And and people don't seem to get that there is no win here. There is no win. And it is affecting everything from what people are posting on their social media because they're afraid of what to do. I think that what a corporation, where I advise in a corporation now as a DEI specialist, is that it would be very neutral and about just peace, something that serves everybody. I don't believe that it's smart for any corporation to come in and draw a line about where they stand, and particularly try to punish people for their own opinions. But they do have to just say to push peace and offer services. Offer services because there is a lot of stress that is going on within the workplace now. And so they have to say, how do we ensure that people are dealing with the emotional toll that's taking place, because it's affecting people. But to keep drawing lines, like you said, death is death. People are dying on either side, and that is not a win for anyone, is a terrible choice for any corporation to me.
But Suzette, the problem is folks are saying, no, 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 you can't be middle of the road. You literally must be deciding one way or other. I'm seeing a lot of these celebrities who are getting in trouble, who haven't said anything. I mean, it's been unbelievable to watch the visceral reaction. And you have some companies and brands and others saying to entertainers, you better say something or else. You've got, again, this thing is just, this battle that is going on where it's literally, you are either on the Israeli side, or if you're on the Palestinian side, depending on who's saying, that means that, oh, you support Hamas. And so people are saying you can't even be neutral.
Yeah, at this point, you're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't, and there's very little middle ground to tread lightly. I've been looking at polls, Roland, where there are more supporters, even within the Democratic Party, for the Palestinian cause than there has ever been, and it also is something that we have to be sensitive to, because there's a distinction between Hamas and terrorism and the civilians that live in Palestine, as well as Israeli civilians and the Israeli government. I think people have to provide space for one to be able to say they reject Hamas or the terroristic acts and atrocities they committed, but do not support the Israeli government or don't completely agree with their action. I think there has been this kind of oversimplification that people are looking to, choose sides where it's a lot of shades of gray. And so we have to, I think, allow for one another to be able to express their opinion. But because this is such a visceral topic, people are risking their brands. People are risking friendships and jobs and all the rest of it, because the Israeli question is something that, again, has been in flux for some time. And again, this is just another iteration due to this recent attack and incursion that has brought back old demons that have been unresolved. We'll see if President Biden has an attempt in the next coming days to go back to diplomacy, but it has been, the stakes have been ratcheted up now that you see the Israeli government now amassing troops on the border. There's no escape for folks who have been living in an oppressive society without any means of their own self-determination. And yes, that has been ongoing even before this attack in the Gaza Strip. So there's multiple sides to this. I don't think one side is completely, especially when you're making a distinction between government and civilian, completely right or completely wrong. But people are not very nuanced for some reason when they're having these discussions. And I think that's something that we ought to be and allow space for.
This is video from yesterday. 4 to 6 people were arrested outside of the White House. for a protest there. Mustafa, it is, again, it is a dire situation, and the Israelis are preparing for what they talked about is a ground surge into Gaza. They told the 1.1 million people who are in northern Gaza to head south. And so this is going to get worse before it gets better.
It most definitely is. And one of the reasons that it's going to get worse is because we fail to realize that both hate and evil are like cancer. You know, when you don't address it in the beginning, then it begins to move all throughout the body, whether it is a human body or it is a systems body. And Dr. King shared with us that the only way that you deal with hate is through love. So we have to figure out how we're going to get more focused on these core elements as a human that help us to move forward in the positive direction. So you see that hate playing out not only in the Middle East, but now you see it also finding its ways to get its talons in people all across the planet. This is a moment when we need to embrace our humanity, to understand that a Palestinian baby or Israeli baby that loses their life there of an equal value, and that we have to do everything that we can to protect life.
Again, this is more video of yesterday's protest outside of the White House from various Jewish organizations. So that's what's also I thought was fascinating. You have Jewish groups who are saying stop. You got Palestinian groups. You got people who are saying support Israelis, support Palestinians. I mean, this is just continuing, and so hopefully. With the president, and in fact, there's supposed to be a summit in Jordan, and the Jordan president called it off. It's supposed to be with President Biden tomorrow. It's not going to be happening.